Hello guys, Smart Polly here. Welcome back to another tutorial. Today I will show you guys how to create a massive open world map in Unreal Engine 4. We will use World Machine to create and export a tiled landscape. We will then import all of the maps we made into Unreal Engine 4 and finally use World Composition tool to create a massive open world map. Before we get started, 80% of you guys that watch my videos aren't subscribed, so make sure you hit that sub button. Hit that bell icon as well because you do not want to miss some of the new videos that I'm working on. So for this video, what you want to make sure you have is World Machine Professional version. If you don't have the professional version, don't worry, you can just follow along. I will provide the project files for the map. However, I do suggest watching how to create the landscape in World Machine just for future reference. Go ahead and open up World Machine. Really, there are two types of massive open world maps that we can make. A large island or continent that has an ocean, or we can just make a normal landscape that without an ocean. Those are basically the two types of open world maps that we can make. Before we get started, let's talk about size real quick. So Unreal Engine can support pretty large maps as well. To put it in perspective, I've worked with maps that have over 700 landscapes or levels. Basically, for single player, there really isn't a limit on how large your map can be in Unreal Engine. And for multiplayer, there really isn't a limit either, but it's just a bit glitchy. Unreal Engine has what's called World Origin Rebasing, which I will talk about more in depth later. But this is what basically allows open world landscapes to be possible within the engine. Now I will show you how to make a massive open world map in World Machine. We'll start by creating a mask for our landscape. With the advanced purlin selected, go ahead and go to your layout view, and then you're going to see here attach new layout as mask input. Okay, and then what you want to do is click invert values, and then you're going to see everything is a sort of brown color. So now we have to draw our map. So for good reference, you can use Google Images here for fantasy map, and there are some good ideas for general shapes on what sort of continent you should draw. I basically use this fantasy map right here, and I'm going to draw this continent right here. We'll start by clicking on the polygon right here, and then we can start making the shape by just matching up the squares here to these squares. So when you're done, you just right click to create the landscape, and then you can double click on this and you can see some of the properties here. We're going to adjust the height, the fall off, all that stuff. So one thing you can use is use breakup. This will help make it look jagged. Right now the size of our landscape is 8 kilometers by 8 kilometers, this little box. But to make it larger than that, we want to make it the entire size of this landscape. It's about 7 by 7, and so we can go ahead 7 times 8, which is 56 kilometers by 56. And then for our resolution here, you want to choose any one of these resolutions here. I'm going to use 1009 by 1009 just for the sake of this tutorial. Of course you can do a higher detail one, but it's going to take longer to bake and export. For example, I've done 700 tiles that has to export at 4033 by 4033, and it took over 3 days to export. Okay, so just click OK, and then you can see the box right here. We can either move this up here, or we can go into overview and click this little box to move our box down, whichever works. Right now our landscape is about 56 kilometers by 56 kilometers, so it's a 7 by 7 tiled landscape, which really isn't that big. Of course you can always scale this up and make it way larger than this. You can make it 10 by 10, 20 by 20, 30 by 30. To do that, you would go into the project settings here, and then go to tile build options, and then tiles per side, You want to change that to our 7x7. So we made sure that ours is 56 divisible by 8, which is 7x7 tiled landscape. Tile resolution, we're also going to have to change this, custom. And then I want to do here 1009. So before we export this, we just need to do a few more things. Let's see what it looks like. Just click our height output here and click build. Click OK. Alright, and that's already looking pretty good. Well, we want to add a coastal erosion here. That way we can get some nice beaches. And we also want to click the guide level to show our water. And maybe we'll have to adjust our water as well. So let's go ahead and add some beaches. So go back to our device view. Go to natural, coast erosion. And then we can go to our 3D view. Click on our coast erosion. Set water level to guide. We have a few options here. We can choose our beach size. Okay, we can go ahead and build it and see what we have. Alright, so I just played around with the settings a little bit. I adjusted my height to 4,160 meters. And then I also adjusted the height here. And then I also messed with the erosion to get this little terrain. Of course, if you don't have World Machine, you can always download this. Link will be in the description below. Before we export this, we need a couple maps for our texture. Duplicate the height output. And then we're going to need a selector. Select slope. And then we also want... Alright, so what you need is a select height node right here. And then copy paste the height output, hook those up. Actually, my bad, to the coastal erosion. And we need one more. Then the height output needs to be PNG. Set that to our desktop. Make a new folder called Open World Map. And name this Sand. Okay, click OK. And then for this one, set this one to dark grass. Make sure that's PNG, click OK. For this one, I'm going to set it to the same folder. I'm going to name this light grass PNG. Okay, and then the last one, we want to set this to our export folder. And then name this to rock. And make sure it's PNG, click OK. Alright, so for our sand height, make sure it's something like this. Okay, for our dark grass, you want to drag the wetness map height field from the quick texture into the mask input. And then we're going to drag these things up, just like that. Alright, something like that. Okay, click OK. And then for our light grass, you want to adjust the slope. Something like that. Okay. Our rock, I want to adjust this right here to the very peaks of the mountains. We have our rock, our light grass, our dark grass, and then our sand. And then for our height output, got to adjust this to raw 16, set that to our output folder, and we can name this to our open world. And then all of these are set. We can go ahead and make sure that our tiled build options are 7x7, 1009 by 1009. Let's go ahead and save this just in case. And then we can go ahead and hit this tiled build right here. Okay, following outputs are enabled. So we got all these outputs, click yes. And it's going to take a little bit depending on your landscape size. Alright, once it's finished, you'll see build completed successfully, so we can click OK. Want to see here a bunch of maps. You can delete all these bitmaps. We don't need any of these. So you can either make a brand new project or you can import it into the project that you have. What I would recommend is you import it to a Community Ocean project, a free Infinite Ocean plugin. I've made a video about it previously. Or just go ahead and clone and download it for whatever version you want. Change the version right here. You can always use the free water planes here. If on the marketplace, go to free Epic Games content and use their water shaders. Alright, so if you're following along with the Ocean project, when you first open it up, it's going to take you to an island map that'll look something like this. The colors might not look the same because I have, a different sky and a different color for my ocean. All I want to go ahead and do is go ahead and select this, delete that, save that. Okay, go over to your content browser under your maps. You're not going to have all these maps here, but basically what you want to do is duplicate your island map, the one that you have open, the default map. That way, if you mess up your map, you always have a backup. Go ahead and make a new folder. You can name it whatever, open world map tutorial. Move that new map right into there. Okay. So once that's in there, we can go ahead and open that up. So before we do anything here, what we want to do is actually go ahead and make ourselves a new landscape material. So we go to right click material, and then we'll just name this 4-layer landscape mat. Then what we want to do is right click, add landscape layer blend, and then we want 4 layers. Okay, so we just hit that little plus button 4 times. Go ahead and add that to the base color. These little down arrows to expand each one. I want this to be rock, and then change that to alpha blend. Next one will be light grass. That will be a weight blend. The next one will be the dark grass. Again, weight blend. And the last one will be sand, which will be a weight blend. Okay, we can duplicate this again. Drag that into our normal. Add some constants here. Go ahead and duplicate those. Roughness to 0.3. What we need here to continue are some textures. If you guys don't have any textures, you can always download the ones in the project files that I will provide, which are basically just the starter content. Rock, sand texture is provided with the Ocean project, but I'll also leave it in the project files that you can download. Go ahead and drag these right in. Get the sandy, and then the sand dunes normal right here. Go ahead and drag that right there. Of course, you can always use any other textures. For example, the brush.io has a really nice grass texture, which is the one I used in the thumbnail. Let's add some more room here. Okay, so we got a rock texture and a grass texture. So let's hook up our rock. Let's hook up our grass. And then our rock. And then our grass. So for our grass texture here, we want to add, and then drag this off and add a vector parameter. This will allow us to change the tint of our grass for our darker grass. What we need now is a landscape layer coordinates. This will allow us to control the tiling. Hook that into rock, and then the rock normal right here. Copy and paste that. One for the grass right there, and then for the normal right there, and one more for the sand right here, and for the sand right there. Okay, so very basic material. Actually, for our rock, we can change that to about 100. For our grass, we can change that to 300. For our sand, we can change that to 200. Okay, so save that. Before we import, you want to go to World Settings and go right here to Enable World Composition. And you always want to make sure that your level is in a separate folder. Okay, so save current. Alright, then what we can do is go ahead and go to our window, Levels window, and then right under here, you click right here, Import Tiled Landscape. Okay, so we'll get this little window open right here. You want to select High Map Tiles, go to our desktop, go to Open World Map, and then what you want to do is select all of these files right here. All of our tiles, not the PNG files. Click Open. Right, then you can see the material right here. We want to select our 4-layer landscape mat, the one that we just made. Okay, we see our rock, light grass, dark grass, sand. So we're going to have to select the weight map tiles. So for rock, click that. Go back to our desktop. And then this is for the rock, so search rock. Okay, Control A. Open those, 49. Okay, for light grass, go right there. Go back to the folder and search up light grass. Okay, Control A, open. For dark grass, select weight map files. Dark grass, Control A, click open. And then for our sand, go back to the folder. Search up sand. Control A, open that. Make sure that's all 49. Because remember, our landscape is a 7x7 tiled. So we're going to mess with the Z, usually around 70. That way it's not too steep. Okay, you can always play with this and re-import it again and again, see what settings are best for you. Then we're going to hit the import. Alright, and depending on your landscape size, you know, if you have a 20x20 or 10x10, 16x16, it's going to take a while to import. Alright, so now we can see there's a bunch of levels here. So we can go ahead and click right here. Actually, summons world composition, this little button. And then we can see here, usually it'll open up another window like this, where you can see all of your levels right here. And you can see as you select it, all the levels will select here. So just go ahead and drag, select them all, and click load. Drag this, dock this in the bottom. Same with that one right there. Okay. So we can fly around our level here, and we see our little guy in the bottom left, update. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out our landscape. Alright, so as we can see, we need to do a lot of work on the texture. Okay. Alright, so we're back. I just had to figure out a few things that were wrong with the landscape that had black spots. Basically, in World Machine, when you're exporting, you want all of your layers to be covering the entirety of the landscape. That way there's no information that's entirely black. That way, when you import it to Unreal, each part of the landscape will at least have some sort of paint to it so that it won't be black. See, the landscape doesn't look too great because of some of the textures. Obviously this green color texture, I couldn't really work with it too much. Here's my material. Added a few vectors here to try and get the color to a different tint. Again, doesn't look the very best. As you can see, the detail right here looks pretty nice, but again, needs a lot of work. But yeah, so basically when you import your landscape into your map, what you want to do is grab the ocean, the swim volume, and then any of the boats that you want. And basically what you want to do is position it, drag it up and down. You can hold down the shift button to go with it. and then position it so that it's lined up with the coastline here. And then, of course, you can also scale up this skybox here if it's too small. And then in our world composition tab here, what you want to do is drag your landscape and center it right here. You can center your landscape right there. What you can also do is you can take your swim volume and resize that to the size of the map. That way your players can swim. If you're going to have a massive landscape larger than this yellow box, what you want to do is you want to do a few things. You want to enable world origin rebasing. Right here, world origin rebasing. Basically, that will shift the world origin according to your player. So if your player is way on the edge of the map, it'll shift the origin to that player. And this will solve a lot of the physics-based issues with having a massive open world map. Okay, so that's mainly for single player. For multiplayer, to enable world origin shifting, you need to go to your project settings. And then you want to search world origin rebasing here under network. Double check, just want to check that, and then save your project. Okay, so that will allow when you are running a dedicated server, when one player runs past the world border, the origin will shift for them on multiplayer. And then another thing is there is a kill Z or kill zone. Basically, when the player goes past a certain point, they will die. We want to disable that. So I think you can just delete this right here, kill zone damage type. Anyways, if your pawn does, if you're just traveling around your massive landscape, if you're sailing your boat around in the distance and you just randomly die, then you need to do something about your kill zone. Okay, so you can see all the levels. It was loading 4 levels at a time. If you want it to render larger than that distance, then 4 tiles distance, you want to basically change the streaming size. So add a new layer right here, my layer. You want to change the streaming distance here, play around with it. I'm going to do 200,000. Create, and then select that. Assign a layer, my layer. Okay, so that will get rid of the uncategorize and put it on my layer. And then when you hit play, you can see it's going to load a lot more. So this is really helpful if you say you're adding more tiled landscapes here, like a mountain, another island here, like a volcano here, and you want them all to load in from a far distance. That's where you'd add more layers with larger streaming distance. That way the player can see it from far. So anyways, that's going to be it for this tutorial. I know this isn't the best looking landscape, but of course you can always switch out the materials here. Like I said, I always recommend the Brushfire IO material and a better rock material than the ones here. Anyways guys, I hope you guys enjoy the video. If you guys have any questions about this, make sure you leave it in the comments down below. And yeah, that'll be it for this video. Make sure you guys like the video if you liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.